Hello everyone, Mike Shoesmith here. Listen, on CBC's Sunday edition with Michael Enright, he spoke with the world's best known person with autism, a lady named Temple Grandon. And Grandon, according to CBC, overcame speech problems early in life and went on to become an author and activist for causes tied to autism and animal welfare. And she has a PhD in animal sciences and an expert and consultant on animal behavior. She invented the hug machine that helps people with autism-related disorders deal with anxiety. Grandon headlined a 2010 TED Talk in California on understanding autism, entitled "The World Needs All Kinds of Minds," and Time magazine has listed her as among the world's most influential people. And in her new book, The Autistic Brain, Thinking Across the Spectrum, Grandon draws on her own experience and the latest research to broaden the public's understanding of the challenges faced by people on the autism spectrum and how to make the most of their unique strengths and abilities. And if you guys, I'll post a link to our blog and you can listen to the entire interview here. It was fascinating to listen to this. But listen, as I listened to the interview, and I listened to it live as it was on the air, by the way, I had one of those aha moments. Suddenly it all made sense. The mocking, the ridicule, the inability to have respectable conversation. Now that one piece of the puzzle, folks, finally fell into place. And that is the connection between atheism and autism. As this expert explained, the disorder, and she explained it in vivid and candid clarity, by the way. I mean, she obviously felt free to let her guard down, which is understandable considering CBC is a mouthpiece for the philosophy of liberalism, a known mental disorder all on its own, by the way. But here is the aha stuff I'm talking about here. She said, quote, "There is no difference between the geeks and nerds in Silicon Valley and those with mild autism." That's what Temple Grandon said. Now, there's a sentence worth considering, right? I mean, Grandon, who suffers from autism herself, explained that people with autism have lost or never had. Now, I say the word suffers. I'm not sure that suffers is the right word to use here. I mean, obviously she doesn't sound that she's had a diminished life experience. But she has had some trials and struggles in life, and so there's been some suffering there. And she claims that and explained that people with autism have lost or never had the social functionality of the brain and, to a higher or lesser degree, possess strictly mathematical capabilities, lacking the ability to form deep person-to-person relationships. You see that? And that's why she invented the hugging machine, because the hugging machine allowed her to experience that sensation without the closeness of a person-to-person contact. And it's been I mean, many of you who know that this type of scenario, what I'm about to discuss here, you would agree that with us, and maybe you've experienced this too, that atheists, whenever you debate an atheist, they lack this ability. The awareness of the value of niceness. But that's where it just begins, folks. Think about it for a moment. I mean, if you spend as much time in this particular arena of ideas as I have, then you'll know what I'm referring to, right? I mean, those who actively seek to repudiate the belief in the supernatural, which, that's what modern atheism is the denial of the existence of the supernatural. They have this one overwhelming common denominator, and that's a lack of concern for anything other than the natural, superficial, and intellectual, right? I mean, Christopher Hitchens once famously said that every sub-debate, no matter what it regards, is overridden by one single solitary topic, and that is the belief in the supernatural and the repudiation of that belief. So Hitchens devoted his life to that, because he said that, every debate has this overarching debate hovering over it, and that is whether or not the supernatural exists. So essentially, Hitchens was saying that the greatest debate ever is whether or not the supernatural is there, the transcendental realm exists or not. And in virtually every debate I've witnessed between Christopher Hitchens and people of faith, he was, without exception, rude and seemingly unable to look his opponent in the eye. And that's a typical autistic inability, by the way. Was Hitchens suffering from mild autism? The above expert that we mentioned here, Temple Grandon, she would confirm that, it seems. She seems to be implying this. You know, Richard Dawkins, I mean, he's undeniably a rude and uncaring person. He just is. I mean, he may have people in his life with whom he cares, for whom he cares, with whom he has relationships with. But if you examine the debates, the person of faith is almost entirely the one who seems to have any sort of care for the way the conversation is going, whether it's polite or not. You know, he sees, and in fact he has said this, that he sees no need for cordiality in debate. His lack of concern for the feelings of others is entirely in lockstep with nearly all of the atheist population. You know, I can recall being steeped in a debate with a guy named James. He's an atheist who visited our Facebook page for the purpose of engaging in debate with our staff. And even though our page is not a debate forum, I decided to engage him personally because he didn't use foul language. Rather, he came into the conversation just simply asking questions. And we welcome that. So we answered, and we answered, and we answered. And eventually he overwhelmed the page with refutations and attempted refutations, and he grew more and more argumentative, and after repeated warnings, he was banned. But guess what? He came back. And after creating close to what seemed like hundreds of new accounts and returning to our page, I asked him to email me personally, to which he agreed. During our private conversation via email, I asked him why he refused to leave our page when he was clearly not wanted there anymore. His answers gave me reason, folks, to be concerned for this guy's welfare. I mean, his mental state of mind was, I was concerned for this guy. And he admitted that he never developed the ability. Now listen to this now. Listen to this. He admitted that he never developed the ability to care about politeness or the feelings of others. Now, does that sound familiar? Now listen, a relationship with God requires the ability to have actual relationships, doesn't it? And since God exists in the transcendental realm, or the supernatural realm, it drives the non-emotional, carnal mind of the mildly autistic. And those are not my words, those are the words of an expert. To reject even the possibility of that reality in spite of the mountains of anecdotal evidence which confirms its very existence. I mean, that would require an extremely tight bubble around you to ignore the mountains of anecdotal, and anecdotal, I mean, all you got to do is look up in a dictionary what the word anecdote means. It's real evidence, folks. An anecdote is real evidence. Courts use anecdotal evidence, which is witness testimony. That's what an anecdote is. It's an eyewitness account of an event. And to ignore these mountains of evidence that the supernatural exists. Now, I'm just not just saying Christianity. I'm just saying that people experience the spirit realm all the time. Now, a lot of it is they're going about it the wrong way because they haven't embraced the spirit realm roadmap, which is the Bible. So they're getting into all kinds of trouble out there. But essentially, the anecdotal evidence for the existence of the supernatural is overwhelming. And then there's this article, I found it via Charisma News, essentially saying that atheists are smarter than the rest of us. And here's part of the article. It says, a new study of almost a century's worth of data shows that the smarter you are, the less likely you are to believe in God. The study conducted by Miran Zuckerman, a psychologist at the University of Rochester, examined the findings of 63 earlier studies, one dating back to the 1920s, that measured intelligence and religiosity, they're calling it. The majority of those studies found that More intelligent people were more likely to lack religious beliefs. The relation between intelligence and religion is negative, Zuckerman said. It was very early in the study that we realized that. But Zuckerman is careful to point out that his work, known as a meta-study, because it examines a range of other studies, does not mean that only dumb people believe in God. Well, that's nice of them to throw that in there. But listen, I first saw this story on Yahoo News a couple of weeks ago, and the results do seem to confirm the autism theory, though. But it would be wise to make adjustments to the actual findings here. So adjusting for the fact that this world-renowned expert is linking intellectualism, which is essentially the mind is everything, to autism. And if we conflate this expert testimony from Temple Grandin with my personal years of experience and the findings of this century-long study, we can clearly see that Grandin's statement that purely logical people lacking social graces have at least a mild case of autism, and we have to conclude that it's valid. So now we see it. You know, autism may not always lead to atheism. We know that. Because, you know, atheism is a delusion that requires, you have to essentially be talked into it, really. But the evidence really does point to autism being a major factor. Now, more examination is required, of course, but alas, it really does make sense now, doesn't it? I mean, we can pity them now because we now understand them. And because we now understand them, we can pray for them. Acts 4 verse 29 says, "And now, Lord, behold their threatenings." Hey, you know, PPSIMMONS staff, we've been threatened with our lives from atheists. It says, "Now, Lord, behold their threatenings, and grant unto thy servants." Now, it doesn't say, "Grant unto thy servants," that we would be able to beat them to death, or kill them, or do harm to them at all. It says that with all boldness so we'll start over again here. "And now, Lord, behold their threatenings, and grant unto thy servants that with all boldness they may speak thy word, by stretching forth thy hand to" what? "To heal, and that signs and wonders may be done by the name of thy holy child Jesus." So, healing is available to these people. If they want it, come and get it. My name is Mike Shoesmith. Thank you for watching. Oh, before I go, I have to say this. I will put a link to this blog article so that you can listen to the entire interview and look at the article with your very own eyes. And now, thank you for listening.